Alright, let's do this one last time. His name is Peter Parker. He was bitten by a radioactive spider and for X amount of years, he's been the one and only Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure you know the rest. He saved a bunch of people, fell in love, saved the city, and then saved the city again. And again. And again. And did this. Yeah, we'd already talked about that. Look, he's a comic book, a serial, did a Christmas album, he has an excellent theme song, and a so-so popsicle. But hey, he's looked worse. The only thing that matters is that no matter how many hits he takes, he always finds a way to come back. Because the only thing standing between New York and oblivion is him. And after everything, he still loves being Spider-Man. Wait, what? That doesn't sound quite right. Whatever, let's continue. So, there's only one Spider-Man, and you are looking at him. What? Okay, now this is officially wrong. Okay, so first things first. I'm pretty sure Peter doesn't exactly love being Spider-Man, right? He gives up the mantle like every 2 movies/seasons. Also, the one and only Spider-Man? You've got to be kidding, right? I've got 3 only in my thumbnail, and there have been like 10 in the last 20 years. Gotta give him props for the theme song part though, cause he has some bangers. Okay, enough avoiding the subject. Spider-Man, also known as Peter Parker and sometimes Miles Morales, is one of the 3 most popular heroes on the planet, together with Bats and Supes. But he hasn't always been a hero, and he hasn't always made the heroic choice. So in turn, there are people that don't see him as a hero, but as a menace, I tell you. A menace! In this video, we'll be diving in some of Spidey's heroics, but also some of his more questionable choices, together with those classic Peter and Spidey struggles. The 3 Spider-Man variants that I'll be talking about the most are Spectacular Spidey, PS4/PS5 Spidey, and Tom Spidey, and we'll sprinkle on some of that Spiderverse Peter as well. So if there are no further questions, let's answer the question. Is Spider-Man a threat or a menace? Jonah, come on, quit changing the script. Is Spider-Man a hero or a menace? Most stories have a beginning, and this beginning has been told so many times. But let's recap one last time. Again, Puny Parker is a high school nerd who lives with his Aunt May and his Uncle Ben because his parents died in a plane crash when he was a kid. He gets bullied by Flash Thompson and has as friends people like Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy. Details may vary from comic to comic/media to media. He gets bitten by a radioactive spider while on a school trip and becomes able to do whatever a spider can, besides shooting webs, and having multiple eyes and multiple limbs. Okay, so he can now stick to walls, sense danger, and have super strength and agility, that's it. Like any teenager who wants to use those powers for good. Yeah, right. He wants to make money. So he joins a wrestling match. He wins, gets told that he cannot get the money unless he signs a contract, refuses, lets a guy that robbed the wrestling contractor get away because it's not his problem, finds out Uncle Ben died, gets told that with great power comes great responsibility, and goes get revenge on the murderer who, surprise, was the guy he let get away. So it was in fact his problem. So what does our hero do? Does he an eye for an eye the villain? Or does he let the American justice system do its job? Well, he really wants to let him fall, but he remembers Ben's words and realizes something that my Marvel Rivals teammates never do. That it was in a way his fault that his uncle died, since he could have stopped the robber, but instead he lets crime get away and paid the price. So now he lets the robber onto the hands of the police and vows to never look the other way again. And this is the classic Spider-Man origin. Of course, in other realities, Peter dies, or Uncle Ben gets eaten, or Peter lizards himself, or Peter gets cloned, etc. But we are not covering those other realities. Peter's origin is one that has been shown a lot, but also one that people still wanna see, because Spider-Man fans are sadists. I mean, because it shows what drives our hero to do good, even though the world deals him a quite bad hand most of the time, and that at the end of the day, Spider-Man may be a superhero, but Peter Parker is just a teenager that has life problems, like girls, and money, and bullying. Yes, that still happens in 2025. Not to mention the loss of his relatives, from his mother and father to his uncle. So while the world sees the amazing, the spectacular, the ultimate Spider-Man. Only we, the audience, get to see the not so nice part of being Spider-Man, of being Superman, of being Batman. We get to see Puny Parker, Lame Kent, and Billionaire Bruce. We get to see those people saving the world every day, and yet because they don't do it for the fame or the money, all they get is problems with friends, with finances, with lovers, and with relatives. One bad day is all it takes to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy. That's the Joker's philosophy, and yet most days in the life of Peter Parker, and honestly Spider-Man as well, are bad days. From relatives dying, to being bullied and mocked by the people he saves, to having to come home and see his aunt struggle financially. But hey, at least those are Parker problems. Spidey doesn't have the same worries, right? His worries include people dying because he isn't good enough, the moral dilemma to monetize his powers, Triple J turning every single one of his heroic deeds into a villainous action, and last but not least, all the Parker friends that he has to ditch in order to be the Spider. These are the struggles of both Peter and his heroic alter ego, but fortunately/unfortunately Peter found solutions to all of them. And yet every single time it backfired or made him be a bad person somehow. First, Aunt May is struggling financially, right? Well, just take pictures of yourself for the bugle. Result? Peter now has some money, but never enough, of course. The consequences being that his now boss, JJJ, constantly yells at him to take more pictures of the spider, even though he's the only one in the city that ever manages to. Not to mention that the other consequence of taking these pictures is that J. Jonah Jameson constantly makes the spider be the villain of the story, tarnishing Spider-Man's reputation and making people see him as the villain. Now here comes the moral dilemma. He stops taking pictures of himself and Aunt May has to work herself to death. He keeps taking pictures of himself and JJJ will keep misinforming the people with his conspiracy theories. See the dilemma? Second point, being mocked by the people that he saves and having to ditch his friends to be the spider. Easy fix. Stop being Spider-Man. This has happened in multiple comics, in the movies, in TV shows, and for other Spider-Man, not just Peter. The consequence? Being reminded that Peter choosing his friends over being the spider results in more Uncle Bens happening in New York. So while he tried to stop being the spider, Peter always comes back because true heroes always answer the call. Third point, the final problem. The unending amount of villains in New York, from superpowered individuals to just your average petty criminals. Something that the PS5 Spider-Man games showed was how Peter felt like the sea of crime was never ending and that he might actually not make a difference in the end. The solution? The black suit, the symbiote, the ultimate Spider-Man. The consequence? Rage, anger, and many other negative emotions. The symbiote always brings the worst in Peter, and because fate is so cruel, most of the time is his only viable answer to the never-ending sea of villains. Whenever he wears the black suit, he becomes a better Spider-Man. He can finally help everyone and not feel useless. At least that's the feeling the symbiote is giving him. In reality, Peter could actually do most of this stuff himself, but his own self-doubt and confidence issues from the Parker life makes him not see this. So what does all of this mean? Well, as most heroes, Peter had not so heroic moments. So how about we dive into all the people he has saved and all the lives he has changed now. As promised, it's time to cover our 4 Spider-Man. The first one, Spectacular, the second one, PS4/PS5, the third one, Tom Holland, and the fourth one, Spiderverse. I'm covering these 4 specifically because to me each one of them represents a different part of Peter Parker's life and a different set of heroics. First, Spectacular Spider-Man. Peter has a lot of good moments here, but by far his best is in the episode Natural Selection. In this episode, Dr. Kurt Connors takes an electrified version of his laser serum and, to his surprise, the serum finally works and he gets back his arm. To celebrate, he throws a party at his lab together with Peter, his son, his wife, Eddie Brock, and Gwen Stacy. His wife realizes that something is wrong with her husband. He's transforming into an actual lizard thanks to the serum, so Martha and the kids try to synthesize a cure and create the Gene Cleanser, the drug that removes any non-human DNA from the body. In the time it took them to create the drug, Kurt fully transformed and went on to ravage the city, and Peter ran away so he doesn't get grounded by Aunt May. Or at least that's the excuse he used. Peter of course dressed up and jumped into the action. By the end of the episode, cured Connor. There is no happy ending for Peter Parker though, because he took photos of the lizard, thus showing to the crew that he didn't actually go home to Aunt May, and instead of helping went to take pictures of the doctor in his shameful state for money. Of course, we knew what actually happened, but the crew can't trust Peter anymore, so he gets fired from his internship. Peter gets home furious. Spider-Man took everything away from him. It left him friendless, it made him miss his curfew, it made him lose his internship, so he decided that Spider-Man is no hero. He's just a random bug bite and tries to take the gene cleanser to finally get rid of his spider curse. But when he's about to gulp it down, he sees a photo of himself with Uncle Ben and realizes that, well, he might have lost a lot today, and that Spider-Man can't just flip a switch and make everything better. But thanks to a webhead, Billy, Dr. Connor's son, got his father back. So what if nobody threw a parade? Spidey did it. He stopped another kid from losing his family, and that's what counts. So the webhead is here to stay. For now at least. In the finale of the first PS4 Spider-Man game, we get to see Peter fighting his mentor, Otto Octavius, for a cure that will finally stop the plague that Otto unleashed onto the city. This fight is really emotional, since Otto was Peter's mentor throughout the game, and we can see his unfortunate downfall from a brilliant man to a supervillain, thanks to, of course, Norman Osborn. So here we are now, bruised and damaged, ready to fight Otto with a new suit, made just to counter him, and finally cure the city. It is here where Otto reveals something mind-blowing. He calls Peter, Peter, instead of Spider-Man. This whole time Otto knew that he was fighting Peter, and yet never held back or cared if he hurt him. Once again the world plays a cruel trick onto our webheads. His mentor, his idol, his friend, purposely tried not to subdue him like Peter was doing to him, but to end him. And in this final moment Peter snaps and defeats Octavius once and for all. After Peter wins their fight, he then gets the cure. And Octavius tells him to help him because Peter is all he has left. And Peter just tells him that he tried. He really tried, but he didn't want to be helped. And that the man he once admired is now gone and swings away. Now for the apotheosis of all of this. Peter is now faced with one final decision. Use the cure on Aunt May and save the life of the woman that raised him like a son and his only family left, or let Aunt May die and give the cure to the city so they can fabricate more to save everyone. May tells Peter that she knows that her grandson will make the right choice, and Peter does. Peter chooses the city and begins crying as he witnesses the death of his Aunt May. Once again, New York takes everything from Spidey, from his mentor to his apartment earlier in the game, to his job, to his friends, Martin, Officer Davis and Harry. And yet, he still chooses to save this city over May. In Spider-Man Homecoming, we get to see Peter save the city from the Vulture. Peter's heroic moment in this movie comes from the ever so famous car scene. In this scene, Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture, aka the father of Peter's prom date and crush, asks Peter questions, while not knowing that he's in a car with his nemesis, the Spider-Man. By the end of the scene, Adrian realizes, thanks to Liz, that Peter is Spidey and threatens him. Peter tells him that he understands and leaves the car. He then goes to the prom dance, meets Liz and tells her that he's sorry and that she deserves better, then ditches her to go after the Vulture. Why is this scene heroic? Because Peter went after the villain? Because Peter gave up being with Liz? Well, yes and no. The reason why this scene is heroic is because of the way Peter tracked Adrian. He tracked him through the phone that he left in his car. Why is this so heroic, you ask? Because this shows that Peter made up his mind long before he left the car. Throughout the movie, we can see Peter give up things in his life to protect his identity and save others. From doing sit-ups badly, to leaving Lizzie's party, to ditching Ned, to giving up his school trip and making his teammates hate him, to here, the final straw, giving up his crush, his prom night, to stop the Vulture. And he decides this before even leaving the car. There are teenage heroes that would have doubts about giving up so much just to be a hero, but not Peter. And even though he needed rubble on top of him to know it, he was already a true hero before the sin even happened. Because a true hero always answers the call. In Into the Spider-Verse, we can see 4 versions of Peter. Peter Parker, Peter B. Parker, Peter Noir, and Peter Porker. The Peter that I will talk about is Peter B. Parker. This version of Peter has something that the other 3 don't have. Depression. He has been saving the city for 25 years. His Aunt May has been dead for quite some time. He and MJ divorced and he lost most of his money thanks to a poor financial decision. So he's now all alone, eating pizza in a cramped apartment. This Peter is tired. He's not just tired of being Spider-Man. He's tired of being Peter Parker as well. He hates being reminded of Ben's words, and he's willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. Not necessarily because it's the right thing to do, but because he's afraid to keep going. He has become afraid of failure as both Spider-Man and Peter Parker. He just wants one last win before he dies tragically while saving the world. So what's so heroic about him? He does something that all of us can do. He pushes forward. With the help of Miles though. He wants to make the ultimate sacrifice against Kingpin's accelerator, but Miles doesn't let him, and tells him that he knows that life is scary. But as Peter once told Miles when he was scared of life, it's all just a leap of faith. And thus Peter returns to his own dimension. In a classic Peter Parker style, doesn't care that the universe wants him dead. He'll live, and he'll have a great life with his beautiful wife MJ and future child. For Finn, his title, the Human, was what defined him. As for Spidey, I think the thing that defines him, and this will get me a lot of flame, is not his "with great power comes great responsibility" quote, but his quips. Now before you dislike the video and call me mean things in the comments, hear me out. For me, the one thing that sets Spidey apart from other heroes is that he's always looking out for the little guy. He's the friendly neighbor. He's the guy that has just what you need when you need it, and that is best represented by his quips. I find two reasons for his quipage. One, because the people he saves are scared. Superpowered individuals are attacking them purposefully or accidentally, and a Spider-Menace is saving them, so it's only natural to be scared. So, like All Might throws on a smile to show that everything will be alright, Peter quips, makes fun of the situation, so the people he saves are less scared, because Spider-Man wouldn't make a joke out of their situation unless he could handle it like a good neighbor. And two, because he himself is scared. Peter is 15/16 in most iterations, and he's fighting superpowered adults that want his life, not to just subdue him like he does. He's scared of them, of what could happen to him, what he could do to them if he doesn't control his powers. So once again, he turns the situation into a joke with his quipage in order to cope. So yeah, no matter how dire the situation is, your friendly neighbors will always quip to make himself and you both feel safer. And that's what makes him a true hero.